One of the most common complaints I get from women and from couples with women in them is the issue of low desire. 30% of women under the age of 59 struggle with low desire, but that number exponentially increases as women age. So, what causes low desire in women, especially moving into perimenopause and menopause, and what can you do about it? Because the truth is, you deserve to have a vibrant and fulfilling sex life. Sex is really good for you. It's good for your body. It's good for your immune system. It's good for your heart. It's good for your mood. It's good for your relationship. And all too often, as women age, because it's natural, it's normal, there are physiological reasons for it, the desire starts to wane. But it's so important to attend to your sex life, not only because it makes so much better all life and your relationships, but also because it's such a huge part of general health and wellness. And a lot of women don't understand why these changes are happening. So let's talk about it, okay? First of all, as a woman hits her mid to late 30s, her hormones are starting to change. So a woman in her 20s has double the testosterone that a woman in her 60s has. Testosterone is the hormone of desire. It's when testosterone is high, right? It plays a huge role, not only in desire, thoughts and fantasies and motivation to be sexual, but also it plays a role in sensation and genital sensation and in nipple sensation and ability to reach orgasm. Estrogen also declines. So the testosterone is slowly declining throughout a woman's lifespan. But by the time she's reaching her mid to late 30s, it's declining far enough that she's starting to have some of the symptoms of low testosterone. So low testosterone symptoms are difficulty getting aroused, low desire, low sensation, and even low energy and kind of mild depression. You don't have the same joy in life that you used to have. The other big hormone that starts to diminish around the mid to late 30s and totally sort of cuts off and really drastically diminishes with menopause being that you've gone a year without a period. Perimenopause can start usually mid to late 30s until that point of menopause. But as estrogen is declining throughout perimenopause and then drops off sharply with menopause, estrogen plays a role in lubrication and sensation, because what happens with lubrication is that there's an increase with arousal, there's an increase of blood flow to the genital region, right? This happens in men and women. But in women, it increases to the genital region along the walls of the vagina. So all the capillaries and the vascular system along the walls of the vagina fill with blood and get engorged and puffy. And then there's like a plasma that leaks through the walls of the vagina and that is the bulk. I mean, a little bit of a woman's lubrication comes from her Skene's glands, but most of it comes as a direct result of increased blood flow. And as estrogen diminishes in our mid to late 30s and onward, then the blood flow, it plays a huge role in blood flow, diminishes to that region as well. And so that is why often women in their mid to late 30s will start to experience dryness and pain and something called vaginal atrophy, which is thinning and kind of brittle, making the walls of the vagina become more brittle as well as more thin. So she can have some tiny tears with sex. It can be uncomfortable. It can be painful. And obviously, if something is painful, if you're having trouble getting aroused, much less reaching orgasm, because it's harder to reach orgasm with those hormonal changes, and sensation is less, and once you do reach orgasm, they feel less intense, then the internal motivation to have sex isn't there, especially if it's painful. But even without the pain, if it's hard to get aroused and reach orgasm, the cost-benefit analysis isn't working in favor of having sex. So this is something that happens to all women unless there's some sort of hormonal or other kind of intervention. So number one is to know that it's normal to have these changes, but that doesn't mean that you just give up on your sex life, okay? So we're going to be talking about what you can do to alleviate these symptoms, but let me just talk on the meta level for a minute, because in our society, all of us, but especially, women, we see in the movies, we see in the media, and we're told, we have this image that sex is supposed to be like spontaneous and we're supposed to always want it like we did in the beginning of the relationship. Here's the thing, as you move into your mid to late 30s and beyond, if you are in a relationship especially, it's really important to start paying attention to where you are sourcing your desire. Because if you are waiting for your desire to come from a place of spontaneous horniness like it did in your 20s, that is probably not going to happen. You have to source your desire for sex from a place of wanting to connect with your partner in a way that really lands with them. Because if you're in a relationship with a man who has a healthy libido, sex is a really big part of their emotional connection to you. I've made other videos about the sex romance stalemate, I call it. But basically what I mean by that is that for most men who have a healthy desire and their biological, historical reasons, it's in our DNA from their caveman times, but men typically achieve a sense of emotional closeness and connection through the physical act of sex. Women are typically inspired to be sexual with someone because they feel emotionally close to them. So you can imagine what happens, right? As she's less interested in sex, less available for sex, he feels less emotionally connected and is less emotionally invested and is less emotionally attuned. And as he is less emotionally attuned, she is that much less interested in sex, right? So it's really important for your emotional connection. And it would be the equivalent. You refusing to have sex with a male partner who has a healthy libido is like the equivalent of him refusing to talk to you about anything or hold your hand or show any emotional intimacy. It's a huge part of their sense of connection. So you want to source your desire from a place of wanting to connect to them in a way that lands, wanting to show your love, wanting to nurture your connection. And this is if you're in a relationship with whatever gender, but in particular, if you're in a relationship with a man with a healthy libido. That doesn't mean you force yourself to do it if the relationship is toxic or if you're in extreme pain, but all other things being equal, source your desire from a place other than spontaneous horniness. Do not just wait for that. And maybe what most women tell me in this situation is that even if they'd rather be doing something else on their to-do list or watching Bridgerton or whatever else, once they get started, then actually they really enjoy themselves and they think, oh, I should do this more often, right? So what do you do about the symptoms and how do you handle them? Well, number one, if you are over 40, please embrace a vibrator. There are small little bullet and small little vibrators. I have one in my line of aids and devices that's called the Athena. That is, like a small cylindrical vibrator, very powerful, packs a strong punch, but it's small and can fit in between the two of you, depending on what position you're in. A woman over 40 needs longer foreplay, first and foremost, and more direct genital stimulation than she needed in her 20s in order to get aroused. And partners need to understand this, that first of all, when I've done national research on what the most sexually satisfied women have in common, it's not the orgasms they have, although orgasms are important and a worthy goal. It's the emotional connection they feel to the person they're having sex with. A vibrator cannot replace a partner, period. It is an accessory. It is not a reflection on their abilities or anything else, especially over 40. Every woman needs that added stimulation, so embrace the vibrator. Hormone therapy is another possibility. Not all women are candidates for that. If you had an estrogen related, a breast cancer, for instance, that was estrogen positive, you're not going to be a candidate for estrogen therapy, but go to your doctor and ideally go to a doctor who specializes, a specialist in bioidentical hormones. Why? Because bioidentical hormones are made from natural sources. And most importantly, they can be customized. So there's estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone, and every woman, depending on what phase she's at in her process toward menopause or through menopause, and even just her own biochemistry, every woman is different. So there can't be this one size fits all approach. So when you work with someone who understands bioidentical hormones, what they are doing is not only giving you hormones that are made from natural sources, and they're still synthesized in a lab, but they aren't made of synthetic materials like the typical hormone replacements that your average OBGYN will give you, kind of one or two sizes fits all and synthetic. If you work with someone who does bioidentical hormones, then they are giving you a customized approach. So they are measuring your hormones, they're seeing what's deficient, they're looking at your symptoms, and they're giving you the lowest possible dose, and they're slowly titrating it up until your symptoms alleviate. So it is a process that often takes 3 to 6 months, and you have to be patient and you have to work with someone. But you can get to the point very easily with their support over time where you are alleviating the symptoms of dryness, low desire, lack of sensation with bioidentical hormone therapy, if you are a candidate, okay? That is one option. Either way, whether you're not a candidate or in conjunction with that, embrace lubricants, okay? Lubricant, lots of foreplay, added stimulation, and lots of lubricant. And honestly, unless you're allergic to coconuts, my favorite lubricant is organic coconut oil. The same stuff you would cook with from your kitchen is an amazing lubricant, and it works really well. But you can experiment with different lubricants. You can go to the store and buy them. Just try to buy something that is organic and natural. Why? Because your vagina and even your vulva, the outside part that is on, the entrance to your vagina, that is what's called a mucous membrane. It's similar tissue to the inside of your nose or your mouth. And the thing about a mucous membrane is that whatever you put there goes directly into the bloodstream. So you want to use natural organic products on your genitals because they're a mucous membrane and it's going to go directly into your bloodstream. Okay, so lubricant, vibrators, more foreplay, hormone therapy, if you're a candidate for it. And if you work with all of that and understand, and by the way, if you have pain, okay, this is an added thing with pain. Not only will the lubricants and the added stimulation and the hormones play a role in the pain, you want to make sure that there isn't some pelvic floor dysfunction that either led to the pain or is now a result of the pain. Because when we experience pain during something, like sex, we're going to clench and our body kind of has this knee-jerk reaction. And so very often, if you're having trouble, in fact, every woman I work with who is either having pain or difficulty reaching orgasm or both, I always make sure to get them a referral to a gynecological or pelvic floor physical therapist. You can get a referral to a physical therapist who specializes in gynecological physical therapy or pelvic floor physical therapy. They're kind of the same thing. You can get that referral through your OBGYN or even general practitioner. And with that referral, it will be covered by insurance. Not every doctor has even heard of this, but it is so important. So if you need to, go to APTA, the American Physical Therapy Association, apta.org website, go to the women's health section, and you can find someone in your area who specializes in pelvic floor physical therapy because of several reasons. One, if you've been experiencing pain, you've probably been doing involuntary clenching that is making the pain worse. And the physical therapist who specializes in this will assess your entire pelvic floor. The gynecological or pelvic floor therapist who specializes in this will assess your whole pelvic floor, which is the floor of muscles that hold up all your reproductive organs and surround your vagina. So they're assessing, is there involuntary tension there? Is there some skeletal muscular issue at play? And they will assess that. They even use biofeedback. They teach you how to relax those muscles, mindfulness, mind-body connection. If you're involuntary clenching as a result of struggling with pain, there's so many different variables that are involuntary and unknown to us in the pelvic floor region, in the skeletal muscular system there, that a physical therapist can assess and address that will change your life and certainly your response in terms of pain, sensation, orgasm, all of it. Because what an orgasm is an intense contraction and release of muscle tension. That's essentially what an orgasm is. So if you have lax muscles in that pelvic floor, or they're too constricted and they can't flex, then your orgasms are going to be less intense. So pelvic floor physical therapy, super important. I think that is everything that I can currently say about low desire as a result to menopause in women. But the most important thing to know is that you aren't alone. There is help available. There are medications out there that are being looked at to help women with arousal. None of them are FDA approved yet. But the main thing to know, other than hormone therapy, but the main thing to know is that you're not alone and there is help available. I mean, the bottom line is that our physiology, hasn't caught up with modern medical technology. It takes us a while to go through the evolutionary process. So our bodies, were really designed when we first started walking the earth. We didn't live past 50. I mean, that was like ancient, right? We didn't live past our reproductive years. Now the average lifespan is 100. So we are living half our lives beyond our reproductive years. And so our biology hasn't caught up with our modern medical technology. And so we have to address how to have better sex through science and through medicine and through education. So that's what I'm here to help you do always, is to love and be loved better. You let me know if you have any questions or you want to hear about any other topic related to your sexual health, love life. I'm always here for you, helping you learn to love and be loved better.